feeling terrible. You know, I always loved outdoors and hiking, and I've always felt more peaceful. And so I kind of started doing like just how to find peace in the outdoors, and I kind of stumbled upon him. And then the very, very funny thing is we started talking, and he's like, I'm in Taylor. And I'm like, you are not in Taylor. That's like 5 minutes from me. So that's kind of how I stumbled upon this. And then, you know, we've been hiking numerous states, and done meditation like on trails and things like that. And, it really helped a lot with like the grieving that I was feeling, and just the anxiety and all of those emotions. So as we've said to some people that have been here before, you don't necessarily have to be like a Buddhist monk is what we normally think of when we think of meditation, you know what I mean? And you don't have to be that at all. And meditation can be something for everybody, and it's different for everybody. So, but I will turn it over to Mike, and hopefully you guys have a very peaceful hour.
So my name's Mike Martin, and I started Project Like the Outdoors based off of the same sort of personal tragedy. I met a really devastating time in my life and was introduced to meditation after fighting and arguing about it. I went out back and I picked up my crossbow and took my nightly shooting practice and realized I was doing everything I just started with, and started opening up myself to meditation. And as I did that, and I started going out on different hikes and different adventures around meditating, I realized that, you know, meditation, we have so many stigmas around that prevent us from doing it. If we were to find just a peaceful way of enjoying something, we could unlock so much within ourselves, self-growth, healing, and all those things that meditation offers. And that's where I started building the podcast and ultimately building these events to bring people together in a safe environment and just practice the skills without any formal expectation, to just enjoy it and allow the thrill of an adventure to lead to that self-growth or self-healing or whatever kind of journey you're on, to become the fuel and the power for it. So on that note, I guess we can go and just get into tonight's meditation, because I feel like it's going to be something that's going to really help everybody and something you guys are going to really enjoy. When you're ready, you can go ahead and close your eyes and just start to lean into your breathing a little bit. Just your natural rhythm. Start to feel it. If you feel your breath coming in and then exhaling, just remind yourself that you're safe, that you're in an enjoyable environment, and you're getting ready to tap into that thrill of adventure. Now that you're starting to bring yourself into the moment a little bit, let's go ahead and do a round of deep breathing. So go ahead and inhale as deep as you can. And as you exhale, allow some of that stress and tension to start to slowly drift away. Inhale the refreshing deep breath. And exhale more and more of that tension. As you're inhaling and exhaling deeply, start to try to touch the place that you feel breath the most. Maybe it's within your lungs as the air is flowing. Could be your diaphragm as it inhales and exhales. It could even be under your nose as you feel the air come into your body. Wherever it is, it's okay. Just center yourself there for a moment. Allow your breathing to slip back to its normal rhythm. You may notice that you have a desire to move, or maybe there's a hamster wheel worth of thoughts that are spinning around in your mind. And that's okay. You don't have to let it frustrate you because meditation is a personalized experience and it can look and feel however it uniquely looks and feels for you. So there's no need to pass judgment if you move or if you find yourself drifting away from your breath because of your thoughts. Each of those thoughts or movements, you can almost picture sitting on a cloud on a warm summer day, each one pinned individually to a cloud. And just like the clouds move in the sky, no matter where you're at, you have the power within you to pick and choose which thoughts to look at and to move them around. And if you could, at this moment, pull the cloud or the thought that's closest to your mind, pull it to the center so you can see it, so you can explore it. Each thought that we have through the day is usually asking us to do something, or it's trying to teach us something. So take a moment and just explore whatever that thought or that feeling that's at the center of your attention may hold. As you come through that process, allow it to drift. And when you're ready, you can bring the next closest thought to the center and allow your focus and your curiosity to explore that thought as well. I need to let that thought drift away. And again, there's no need to pass judgment on yourself if it's something that's difficult for you to do at the moment, because the more that you practice, the easier that it becomes. That next thought comes forward. Allow yourself to gently, easily, without judgment, explore whatever that thought or that feeling may be. That thought begins to drift away. Allow your focus to start to drift down your body towards your feet. and feel that support that's underneath you, underneath your feet. As that support from the ground begins to register and you begin to feel it, imagine that your feet are growing roots, tapping into the ground beneath you. Because of those roots, Mary Mother Earth are going to be a supporting guide through our adventure here tonight. As you feel that energy in your feet, allow it to slowly work its way up the course of your legs. As that energy works into your knees, feel it take with it stress and the tension from your calves, your feet, and your knees. And at whatever pace is good for you, allow that energy to continue to work its way up your body, flowing in, bringing support and calm, taking with it all that stress and all that tension. Through this process, you may feel parts of your body that are holding extra stress or extra tension. And you can just allow that energy to center in there as you put your focus wherever it may be, gently allowing your body to relax deeper. Perhaps now you're up toward your shoulders and in through your neck, back in toward your head. As you feel that support moving toward the top of your head, you probably feel those thoughts coming back. And a great exercise for that is just to say to yourself, thank you, and but no thank you. Because there's no need to pass judgment on the thoughts or on yourself. Allow your focus to gently come back into this moment. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, visualize the dense, beautiful forest in front of you. Allow that energy to drift back down your body, nice and slowly, taking your focus with it back toward Mother Earth, or the ground on which you stand that's supporting you right now. Into your gaze, you start to notice that there's a path that's beaten into that ground. It's been traveled many, many different times. And your curiosity starts to lead you down that path and into the forest. Staying present and understanding that you're still safe because Mother Earth beneath you is supporting you along this trail. Off in the distance, you start to hear a little bit of drumming. And that drumming is really turned on your curiosity. So you continue to venture a little bit quicker down that trail. As you walk further and further down the trail, that drumming is getting louder. And along with that drumming, you hear the sounds of celebration. That trail brings you into clearing, into an opening where you see a beautiful village. And at the opening of this village, there's a couple members of the tribe that are there to greet you with a smile, reassuring you that this journey is okay, that it's safe, as they invite you into the village. All around you, you see people celebrating. Your guides bring you into the center of the village, where you see the big giant fire. And the elders of the village are gathered around, and they're sitting discussing many things. When you come closer, one of the elders stands and invites you to sit down and join them at the fire. As you join them, a deeper feeling of relaxation and ease gently washes over you. The elder that's sitting next to you, he begins to explain to you that you found your way to a celebration of life. You found yourself here because this is where you were meant to be in this very moment. And his reassurance brings you even more present into this very moment. As he continues to talk, he explains to you that life is a journey, and it's a journey that's made up of chapters. And within those chapters of the trail, you have to make decisions that are based on the environment and the vocabulary that you have at hand. As we turn from one page to the next, we hold a lot of regrets because we've had to make decisions that when we look back on them, we're not very proud of. But as this elder talks more and more to your heart, he begins to explain to you that those decisions do not define your journey. Those decisions do not define who you are or who you will become. Instead, they're stepping stones. They're learning processes. Fortunately, we get too caught up on so often in those regrets that we don't allow ourselves spaces to experience the next pages of the book. Then he puts his hand on your shoulder to remind you that you're safe, that you're here, and it's okay. And then he extends his other hand. He wishes to do you a favor. He wishes to take your biggest regret from you in order to make room for the next glories and enjoyable memories of the pages that are yet to come. It offers you time to look within your heart and search yourself to decide which stone that you place within his hand. And I offer you the safety of the moment to realize that it's okay to let something go as you place that pebble within his hand. And as he closes his hand, you begin to understand that whatever that stone represented, you no longer have to carry, because he's going to set it back down on Mother Earth, where it can be transformed into a different form of energy. Take another deep breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly, allowing that energy to continue to drain through those roots back into Mother Earth. As the elders stand up and begin to take their leave, take a moment to express your gratitude, this piece of wisdom. We begin our journey back to where we came from. We slowly make our way out of the celebration and out of the town, back onto the trail from which we came. Just enjoy that new feeling of lightness within your steps. Take a few moments to just enjoy the gaze of the warm sun and the clear skies, the new hue of green from the gigantic trees that surround you. Allow a few moments to feel those roots within the dirt of the trail. Becomes very tiring, and it's necessary to take a break. So as we make our way back down that trail, we find a beautiful clearing with a gigantic tree laying on the ground. It's a perfect place for us to rest and just enjoy a few moments of stillness and deep relaxation. off in the distance, you start to hear a little bit of rustling, the leaves on the ground, and the grass around. You know it's an animal, but my question to you is what animal is it? What animal do you see coming between the clearing? Whatever that animal may be, represents your current spirit animal of the moment. These animals come and go in order to share wisdom, a new perspective, and help you along the trails of life, of adventure, and meeting whatever goals or solving whatever problems that you may encounter. And such experience that I had was during hunting season about 4 years ago on November 15th, which is the peak of the deer breeding season. And I was standing in a tree on an extremely cold morning. I had not seen anything at all that day. And suddenly, out of nowhere came this beautiful young buck. Now, I didn't draw on him, and I didn't take him that day because when I hunt, I like to have a connection with the animals that I harvest. So he was getting a free pass. But because I stood there so long in the cold, I was wondering to myself, what am I doing? I call myself a hunter, but I'm not ending this hunt by taking Longhorn as I named him. Instead, I stood there and I thought really deeply about that. And I really tapped into my heart and realized that for the couple of weeks leading up to that, I had really been struggling with anxiety. And I started to project my definition and my story of anxiety onto Longhorn. I thought about how here it is, the height of the rut, and he's making all kinds of mistakes in order to do his job, which was to reproduce. And he was doing so in this life and death scenario because he knew that if he encountered danger, he could trust his skills and ability. And when I thought about that, my relationship with anxiety, it hit me that even though in our world, anxiety doesn't represent life and death in the moment, it feels like it. But because I can see a physical representation of a deer going about his life work, means that I can do the exact same thing. And that was what started to help me get over and change the definition of my relationship with anxiety. And whatever your spirit animal may be, whatever animal stands across from you right now, can share that same kind of wisdom and the same tools with you. If you open your heart, if you allow yourself to have that kind of conversation. So as we sit on these trees, take the time to search your heart, to open it up, conversate that animal. and it begins to return from where it came, feel free to offer him gratitude for whatever he may have shared with you. And then we begin back down that trail, heading closer and closer to the point where we began. All of a sudden, the sky begins to darken, and we start to hear a little bit of thunder and roll off in the distance. The winds begin to pick up. There's a storm that's coming in. We still allow ourselves a moment to remind ourselves that we're safe, even in the storm. Because the storms of Mother Nature, they're not meant to tear things down. They're meant to nourish and offer room for regrowth. And this is another powerful reminder that we can see within the cycles of nature that we can apply to our lives. Because as we talked about, the way that Project Mindfully Outdoors came about was in the face of different tragedies. We learned from those, we learned from Mother Nature's example that her winds, or the winds of pain, don't have to knock us over. They teach us to become flexible, to sway back and forth in order to not only grow, but nourish ourselves with lessons that the pains of life teach us. Just like we see examples all over nature of difficulty, of adversity, we also see the ability and the will to just put one more step forward. And as we put one more step in front of us, we finally reach the beginning of the trail, place where we began. And at this point, you can either sit there at the trailhead, take a few more moments to reflect on the journey, or when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And one more thing that I like adding at the end of a meditation session is just a few minutes of working on breathing techniques. Because meditation is really a tool that we can utilize no matter where we're at, no matter what the situation is, by drawing back into our breath. And when it comes to the art of shooting, there's what we call box breathing, which is this idea of inhaling for a certain count, which means the number 4, and then we hold our breath for another 4, before we exhale for 4, and then we pause for another 4. So we build a box with each individual breath, and it's a great tool for moments that anxiety come up or with racing thoughts when we're looking for clarity. So if you'd like, we can work through a few of those and then we can progress from there. So go ahead and inhale deeply for a count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4. And the other reason that it's helpful to count as you go through the breathing process is it gives your mind an area to center, to synchronize and slow your thoughts down. And the other thing that I like to do at the end of class is kind of open the floor up to questions.
What animal did you see?
For me, it's usually a deer. I have a very strong connection with deer, whether it's in meditation or it's actually out on the trail. And, you know, it represents not only the kind and nurturing aspect of, of a person's personality, but it also, the way that they interact with the world, there's grace within their steps, but they also have that curiosity. And the curiosity, I feel, is one of those things that really opens up the door for us to explore who we are, because we let go of all the labels and all the judgments that we get so comfortable with.
Tell us about your hike.
I would have to say I've had some very interesting ones while going out and actually meditating on the trails. There's through the Ohio Valley, a number of Hopewell Indian burial mounds and stuff. And I've gone up to a couple of those and I've had experiences where it feels like there's actually somebody sitting across from me and having conversations that have poked and teased out traits or thoughts or whatever it is I'm carrying that I know are there that I don't want to let go of or talk about. But yet, at the end of the session, it feels as if they've come out and I've gone through and kind of changed that carrying capacity. But there's a lot of beautiful scenery around them as well. It's not only historical but learning lessons. I've had the privilege of hiking some of Daniel Boone's footsteps through Kentucky and meditating along the way, and had, again, other experiences like that.
You hike some of the time and then stop to meditate, or?
I do a combination of sitting meditation and walking meditation. And I actually just did a class on Saturday where somebody asked me about the idea of walking meditation, because their presumption was you close your eyes and
Right.
do what you do. when you
He's like,
sit.
you're gonna trip and fall, right?
Right.
We're like, no.
But the walking meditation is actually more of a grounding, centering thing, because you're focusing on the feel of the sensation of putting your foot on the ground. Then you're working your way up and feeling how the muscles are responding to it. And it brings you very centered.
I think it's also when you're hiking, it's always like a mind battle, like for me, so it's finding a way to quiet my mind while I'm walking is where I think for me, that's what I do. Because I always have my body telling me, you're tired, you want to stop, you can't finish the trail, so for me, it's always a mind battle to try to fight my mind and say, well, you're in the middle of the trail, you gotta end it, because nobody's gonna come pick me up,
There's also-
so it's a lot for me is just like the walking meditation part is just to like try to quiet my mind and go, okay, wait, you gotta finish the trail, nobody's gonna come get you. So just really focus on breathing and one foot in front of the other. And I think that's more when he says like walking meditation, that's what it is for me.
There's a lot of physical representation of things that we struggle with, like overcoming adversity. There's a park down in Indiana called Turkey Run. And so you're familiar with all the steps.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's
They're
a lot of stuff.
exhausted, you're like, well, I either fight my way up the stairs or I go back to the car and just get back. So it teaches you to overcome that adversity.
Yeah, that 150 steps was brutal.
Uh-huh.
But it was like, I have 150 steps or I have to go back 2.5 miles. So,
I like a lot of.
Guess
the
we'd take the
historical
steps.
Content that when you get out on the trails, you get to see. I just did, earlier this month, the, what was that, Kingmore Mine Trail?
Yeah.
Over in West Virginia.
Yep.
And you gotta go down the mountain to get to the base of it, and there's another couple hundred stairs to get to the rest of the mine. Just to explore it, and then you gotta climb back out, and you're pretty tired by the end of it, but you look back and you're like, man, I did that. And then you get to life, you get, at work and stress and everything. Everybody's telling you can't achieve something, well, I physically did it, so guess what? Mentally, I pushed through and I look back and I have the same feeling.
same thing though, with work stresses and stuff when you're at work, you can meditate at work and nobody needs to really know you're doing it. Just ground yourself again into just your breathing, take a minute. Focus on your breathing, get yourself back to center, so you can finish your work day. I do that a lot. I work at a dealership and sometimes it gets pretty busy with cars that people need, because customers have bought it. And sometimes we get 5-6 cars at one time and there's only a couple of us working and, your anxiety starts to go through the roof. Like, how am I gonna get all this done? And you gotta just, again, coach yourself, just breathe, focus, one thing at a time, and before you know it, it's done. And, you're like, man, we did it. Cool.
And then, when it comes to the way that life beats us down and we get caught up in those labels, I say that I've actually rebuilt my sense of self-worth and self-value literally one swing of a hatchet at a time. Going out on a hike and trying to build something for shelter or putting together a fire or whatever the case may be. The hiking part comes in with seeing the actual visual proof that you're able to do things. So that when you're in a moment where somebody's bashing you or you're down on yourself, you can look back and have a reference point to pull yourself out of those moments. In spring, I do a lot of hiking on the Iron Bell Trail through the downriver area. And it's fun to get people out and combine the two. So last year I went out with this friend of mine that was going through a recovery journey. And the first time that we went out to do this, just like, there's no way I can sit down and meditate. Well, we hiked from Flat Rock, from Huron over to the Metro Park. By the time we got to the Metro Park, we had lunch and we were going to do our sit-down meditation. And she sat for 25-30 minutes actually in meditation, believing that she never could do it. We started. So it's very surprising how the two go together.
Another question we get a lot is the fire. So it's a flickering light and it's just a diffuser that's putting out the sage smell that you're smelling.
Find hatchet
Um,
in your hatchet.
yes. I assume they would frown on me bringing in an axe. So I just stopped and grabbed a cord of wood on the way in. But I mean, overall for me, it's been just this journey of realizing that all this self-suffering story that we're caught in, because us being here on Earth, that's our gift, is the art of storytelling. We tell stories for everything on Earth, but it's comfortable to get caught up in the negative story because it takes away the responsibility. And when you start to shift that and give yourself tangible proof that you can do things. And it opens the door to accepting more responsibility and kind of changing that perspective of just drifting through life to actually owning life and owning your journey and making it much more meaningful and easier to be present.
So how many of you hike? Or have hiked? Where you guys go? Yeah, us too.
Us.
Yeah. We haven't done too much like out west yet, but do a lot of the East Coast. A lot in Ohio. Which is surprising because you think Ohio's pretty just boring, but it's really, really beautiful, actually. There's a lot of very beautiful summits. How about you? Where'd you hike?
A little bit in the Appalachian Mountains,
Oh, yeah.
between Charlottesville and Richmond.
Okay.
And when I do the hikes, I do also teach the skills and the safety aspect of it too. I'm actually in the process of getting my wilderness first aid certificate to add to those things. And it's really amazing to put an axe in somebody's hand for the first time and show them how to chop wood, to see that look of satisfaction and achievement. Which is another part that I really love about doing this, is you can make it so simple for somebody to start building momentum to change their life.
Are you guys like taking all your camping gear and sleeping out there and with packs and stuff, or?
We haven't actually done any overnight yet. I mean, we're working on that.
It's kind of funny because I do a lot of my podcast and writing work out, up around Hurock and stuff, so I built a couple of those places to sit. And things like that. And, doing that, it's a meditative skill in itself. Because to sit and put together a fire, get everything gathered, build your tinder, and then get that ember and start working it into an actual flame and into the fire is a very tedious process at times, and something that really brings you into the moment and gets back to, I did it, I achieved that. It's fun because we all enjoy the tagline of adventure. And it shows us things like this that we can do. But when we try to do it in the real world without really setting a true intention and need, we don't want to do it because it sounds like work. So it's like the same thing. It's just crazy. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight. Absolutely.
So there's a few people that came in at the end. I could get names and emails, so we send out like a newsletter. It kind of says where next events are. I think does it link to your podcast and all that?
Yes, I send out information about all that as well.
So that should all be in there. And then on the table on the way out, there's brochures also that, it's got a QR code that you can scan and it will take you right to his podcast. And his business cards, if you have any questions or if you want to get a hold of him. We do actually, once the weather breaks, we're gonna try to do like guided hikes, locally as well as out of the area. And then also, potentially, we're working with Crosswinds Marsh where we might do some stuff with them, so. All that kind of thing.
And then we'll be back here.
It actually could be